Friends, we live in a world overflowing with noise, scrolling feeds, binge, watching shows, endless opinions flooding our minds. Never before in history have human beings had access to so much, and yet, never before have so many people felt so empty. Why? Because most people are stuck in consumption mode. They take in, but they never create. They never contribute. And here's the truth. Your fulfillment in life will never come from what you consume. It will come from what you create. Your legacy won't be measured by how much you watched, bought, or consumed. It will be measured by what you gave, what you built, and the lives you impacted. Today, I want to challenge you, make a commitment to create more than you consume. When you're in consumption mode, you're sitting on the sidelines of your own life. You're like a spectator in a stadium, watching others play, watching others score, watching others rise to victory while you remain in the stands, applauding their efforts, but never feeling the rush of the game yourself. This is what happens when we let our days be dominated by passive consumption, scrolling endlessly, binge watching, listening, reading, but never engaging in the act of producing something that carries our own signature. Shifting from passive to proactive means stepping out of the bleachers and onto the field. It's about becoming a participant, a contributor, an active force in shaping your own destiny. And this shift, while simple in concept, requires a deep and conscious decision. Most people never make it. They wait for the perfect time, the right resources, the magical spark of inspiration that will tell them it's time to start. But life doesn't work that way. Waiting keeps you consuming. Starting, no matter how small, moves you into creation. Think about the young writer who has spent years devouring books, articles, and essays. Their shelves are packed with knowledge, their mind buzzing with stories and ideas. But they have never put pen to paper to create their own work. They are filled with potential, but paralyzed by inactivity. The day they decide to write, even if it's only a few paragraphs that feel clumsy and imperfect, something changes. They cross an invisible line, from spectator to player, from passive to proactive. The act of creating transforms not only what they do, but who they are. They start to see themselves differently, not just as someone who appreciates writing, but as someone who writes. That shift in identity is the beginning of momentum. There's a sobering truth here. The saddest thing in life isn't running out of money. It's running out of time with your best ideas still locked inside you. Imagine leaving this world never having shared your song, your invention, your solution to a problem, your vision for a better way. Imagine all the paintings never painted, the books never written, the businesses never started. These lost creations don't just hurt you. They rob the world of the unique contribution only you could make. Nobody else can create exactly what you can create. Your perspective, your experiences, your voice are one of a kind. When you hold them back, the world stays just a little dimmer than it could have been. Shifting to a proactive mindset doesn't mean you stop consuming altogether. Consumption has its place. It fuels learning, inspiration, and growth. But the key is that consumption must serve creation, not replace it. If you read a book, let it spark an idea you put into action. If you watch a documentary, use the insights to fuel a project, a conversation, a new perspective you share with others. Passive consumption is like taking in calories without moving your body. You eventually feel heavy and stagnant. Active creation, on the other hand, burns that energy, shapes it, and turns it into something of value. This shift often requires a deliberate break from old patterns. If your mornings begin with social media, replace the first 30 minutes with writing in a journal, sketching, or outlining a plan for the day. If your evenings are swallowed by television, dedicate 3 nights a week to working on a personal project. At first, it will feel uncomfortable because consumption is easy. It asks nothing from you but your time and attention. Creation demands focus, effort, and vulnerability. It asks you to show up, to risk failure, to put a part of yourself into the world where it can be seen and judged. That's why so many avoid it. But that's also why those who embrace it stand out. The world doesn't reward consumers. It rewards creators. Think about it, the people you admire, the people whose names you remember, are the ones who made something, built something, started something. They weren't just absorbing the work of others, they were producing their own. And they began exactly where you are now, at the decision point. I challenge you to make this decision today. Choose 1 hour every single day this week that will be dedicated to creating something. It doesn't matter if it's writing, designing, recording, painting, or planning a business. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. What matters is that you're no longer just taking in. You're putting something out. Creation is a muscle, and like any muscle, it grows with consistent use. The first few attempts may feel awkward, the results may disappoint you, but over time you'll feel yourself changing. You'll notice that instead of waiting for ideas, they start coming to you during the day. Instead of feeling drained after hours of consumption, you'll feel energized by the act of producing. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the right tools. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Start now with what you have, where you are. You may think you're not ready, but the truth is, readiness is built in the act of doing. The shift from passive to proactive is the most important change you can make because it's the one that opens the door to all other growth. So step forward. Get on the field. Put something into the world that wasn't there yesterday. The stands are full of spectators. What the world needs is another player. Be that player. Be that creator. Starting today, commit to creating more than you consume and watch how it changes not only what you do, but who you become. Everything you consume exists because someone made the decision to create it. Every song you stream, every video you watch, every product you buy, every app you use, none of it appeared out of thin air. Someone invested time, effort, creativity, and courage to bring it into existence. That's the value exchange of life. Creators put value into the world, and consumers take it in. But here's the reality. If all you ever do is consume, you are on the receiving end of someone else's vision, someone else's hard work, someone else's reward. You're helping to grow their platform, their influence, their bank account, while your own dreams and potential remain dormant. It's not wrong to consume. It's wrong to do it without balance, without also putting your own creations into circulation. Social media is a perfect example of this principle. We tell ourselves it's free, but it's not. We're paying with our time, our focus, and our attention. Resources that are far more valuable than money because once spent, they're gone forever. Every time you scroll for an hour, someone on the other end of that content is benefiting from your engagement. They're growing their audience, strengthening their brand, and in many cases, earning income. Meanwhile, you've spent an hour giving them your energy and gotten little to no tangible progress toward your own goals. If all of your time and mental energy is invested in building someone else's dream, when will you have anything left to build your own? The value exchange isn't just about economics. It's about ownership of your time and purpose. When you consume more than you create, you become dependent. You start relying on other people to entertain you, inspire you, and even tell you what to think. This keeps you in a passive state where life happens to you instead of you happening to life. But when you flip the equation and start creating more than you consume, you reclaim ownership. You begin to shape the environment instead of being shaped by it. You go from being a customer to being a producer, from being an observer to being a leader. Think about the last time you learned something new, a skill, a piece of wisdom, an insight. Did you take that information and put it into practice, or did you file it away while moving on to the next piece of content? Most people gather knowledge like they're stocking shelves in a warehouse, thinking the accumulation of information is the same as progress. It's not. Information without application is wasted potential. When you create, you take what you've learned and turn it into something tangible that benefits you and others. You turn knowledge into action, and action is where the real value is created. Here's the truth that stings for a lot of people. You're already participating in the value exchange, whether you realize it or not. The question is, are you on the side that's growing or the side that's funding someone else's growth? Every minute you spend watching another creator is a minute you could be using to create your own work. Every product you buy is the result of someone else taking the risk to make it. They're playing the game. You're sitting in the stands, paying to watch. The moment you decide to put something of your own into the marketplace of ideas, art, or business, you move to the other side of the equation. You start benefiting from the very system you've been fueling for others. This doesn't mean you need to stop consuming completely. Consumption can inspire and educate you. It can provide models and examples to follow. But you must consume with the mindset of a creator, not a spectator. That means when you read a book, you immediately think, how can I apply this? How can I adapt this? How can I teach this? When you watch a video, you ask, how can I use this as fuel for something I produce? You turn every piece of content into raw material for your own creation. If you don't make this shift, you'll remain on the wrong side of the value exchange for the rest of your life. You'll keep paying with your attention, your time, and eventually your regret, because one day you'll look back and realize you helped build empires for others while your own vision never left the ground. The choice is yours. Will you keep consuming endlessly, or will you begin contributing something that has your name on it, your fingerprint, your essence? I challenge you to change the way you interact with every single thing you consume starting today. Before you click play, before you turn the page, before you buy. Ask yourself, what can I create from this? How can I turn this into value that flows back into the world through me? That one shift in mindset will change the way you use your time, change the way you think, and change the level of impact you have. The goal is simple but powerful. Consume with intention, create with purpose, and make sure you are always on the side of the exchange where you are giving at least as much as you take. That's how you build not just success, but significance. Our culture is obsessed with buying. We're constantly told that the next purchase will be the thing that changes everything. The new gadget, the new piece of software, the new training program, the new set of tools. We've been conditioned to believe that if we just buy the right thing, we'll magically have the results we want. But here's the truth: buying is easy, building is hard. And it's the building, not the buying, that transforms your life. You can spend thousands on tools and still accomplish nothing if you never put them to use. You can fill your shelves, your closet, or your garage with every resource imaginable. But until you take action and create something tangible, you're not moving forward. Think of the man who wants to get in shape. He spends months researching the best home gym equipment. He orders the most expensive treadmill, a set of dumbbells, a stationary bike, and the latest supplements. Every delivery gives him a hit of excitement, the feeling that progress is being made. But the equipment sits in the corner gathering dust. The supplements expire. The bike becomes a clothes rack. Meanwhile, another man with no money for fancy equipment runs outside every morning, uses a park bench for push-ups and step-ups, and does bodyweight squats in his living room. 6 months later, the second man is fitter, stronger, and healthier, not because he had more resources, but because he actually built the result through consistent effort. Buying is seductive because it feels like progress. Swiping your card gives you an instant reward, a quick dopamine hit. You feel like you're moving toward your goal simply because you've invested money into it. But the reality is that until you start building, until you put in the hours, the sweat, the thought, the trial and error, you haven't made real progress at all. Tools don't build dreams, people do. Resources can make the process easier, but they will never replace the work. This applies to every area of life. Someone buys a course on starting a business, but never launches anything. Someone buys a camera to start a YouTube channel, but never films a video. Someone buys a stack of self-help books, but never applies a single principle from them. The marketplace is full of people who keep buying their way around the real work. They think they're preparing, but what they're really doing is procrastinating. Preparation is important, but if you're always preparing and never producing, you're just consuming under a different name. The real growth happens when you take what you have, no matter how little, and start building with it. The first version might be ugly. It might be rough, awkward, and unpolished. But that's where greatness begins. Every masterpiece starts as a messy draft. Every successful business begins with an imperfect first product. Every healthy body starts with those first painful, shaky workouts. The moment you shift from acquiring to applying, from buying to building, you step into the role of creator. And here's the thing, the act of building develops skills and confidence in a way that consumption never will. When you create something yourself, you learn by doing. You solve problems, you adapt, you get better. You develop resourcefulness. You stop waiting for the perfect condition and start using what's already in your hands. That's the mindset of a true creator. They don't sit around wishing for more. They make the most of what they already have and grow from there. If you really want to measure your progress, don't count the money you've spent or the things you've bought. Count the things you've built. How many projects have you started and finished? How many skills have you practiced? How many times have you taken an idea from your head and made it real? Those are the true indicators of growth. I want you to think about an area of your life where you've been stuck in buying mode. Maybe it's fitness, maybe it's business, maybe it's a creative dream you've been holding onto for years. Ask yourself, have I been investing my energy into building results? Or am I just buying tools to feel like I'm doing something? Then make a commitment to stop hiding behind preparation and start creating with what you have right now. Before you click buy on the next thing, ask yourself if you've fully used what you already own. If the answer is no, commit to exhausting every ounce of value from your current resources before you purchase anything else. You might be surprised to find that you already have everything you need to start. And once you start, you'll realize that progress doesn't come from what's in your shopping cart. It comes from what you're willing to build with your own two hands. So stop mistaking motion for progress. Stop thinking that the next purchase will be the magic bullet. You are the magic bullet. The results you want will come from your sweat, your focus, your persistence, and your willingness to build when it's uncomfortable. The sooner you accept that, the sooner you'll start seeing real change. And when you do, you'll understand why the builders of this world always outrun the buyers. The buyers collect things. The builders create legacies. Choose to be a builder. Most people start their day in consumption mode. Before they've even gotten out of bed, they're scrolling through their phones, checking social media, reading headlines, answering messages. They fill their minds with other people's priorities, opinions, and problems before they've even thought about their own. This habit is so common that it feels normal, but it comes with a hidden cost. It trains your brain to be reactive instead of creative. It sets the tone for a day where you're responding to everything around you, instead of initiating anything of your own. The first moments of your day are the most valuable real estate in your mind, and if you give them away to consumption, you are essentially handing over control of your focus before you've done a single thing for yourself. Imagine two different people. The first wakes up, grabs their phone, and spends 45 minutes checking notifications, scrolling through a feed, watching videos, and reading articles. By the time they get out of bed, their mind is already crowded with other people's opinions, stories, and dramas. They feel scattered, distracted, and already behind. The second person wakes up and spends the first 30 minutes writing in a journal, working on a business plan, creating a piece of art, or exercising. Before they've consumed anything from the outside world, they've already put something of themselves into it. That small difference in the first hour of the day compounds into massive differences over months and years. When you create before you consume, you flip the usual order of the day. Instead of letting the world set the agenda for your mind, you take the lead. You feed your dreams before you feed your distractions. You ensure that no matter what else happens in the day, you've already done something that moves you forward. This one habit alone can transform your productivity, your sense of purpose, and your self-respect. The reason this works so powerfully is because the early hours of the day are when your mind is most clear. Your willpower is at its peak. Your creativity is fresh and untangled from the noise of the outside world. If you give those hours to creation, you're planting seeds in fertile soil. If you give them to consumption, you're filling that soil with weeds before you've had a chance to grow anything meaningful. Some people say they consume in the morning for inspiration, but more often than not, inspiration turns into distraction. A writer who opens their laptop to read a few articles before writing often finds themselves in a rabbit hole of unrelated content, losing the best part of their creative energy before they've written a single word. It's not that consumption is bad. It's that it needs to serve creation, not precede it. Inspiration is best used after you've created something, as a way to refine or expand what you've already done. Creating before consuming also forces you to confront the discomfort of starting. Consumption is comfortable, it asks nothing from you. Creation requires effort, focus, and vulnerability. It's tempting to delay creation by telling yourself you'll do it after you've checked a few things. But that's the trap, because after never comes. Something else always gets in the way. By putting creation first, you eliminate the possibility of postponement. You don't need hours to make this work. Even 20 or 30 minutes of focused creation before you consume anything can make a significant difference over time. Think about what you could accomplish if you wrote a page, recorded a short video, outlined a plan, or practiced a skill every single morning for a year before checking your phone. The compounding effect would be extraordinary. Those small daily investments would add up to a portfolio of work, a body of progress, and a sense of momentum that would be impossible to achieve if you only created sporadically. To make this habit stick, you have to remove temptation. Put your phone in another room before you go to bed. Have your tools for creation ready to go, your journal open, your instruments set up, your workspace clear. Reduce the friction between waking up and creating so that you can start immediately without negotiating with yourself. The bottom line is simple. The order of your actions matters. If you consume first, you're feeding someone else's vision before your own. If you create first, you're honoring your own ideas, goals, and potential before giving your energy away. Every day you choose which of those paths to take. Over time, that choice shapes your life. So starting tomorrow morning, challenge yourself to create before you consume. Don't open your phone. Don't check your email. Don't let the noise in. Instead, put something out. Something that carries your voice, your vision, your effort. Make it your rule that the first thing you give your attention to is your own work. Do this consistently, and you'll find that not only do you produce more, but you carry a sense of accomplishment and clarity with you throughout the day. You'll stop feeling like life is just happening to you and start feeling like you are actively shaping it. And that, more than anything else, is the foundation of a creator's life. Perfectionism is one of the most common traps that keeps people from creating. It wears a mask that makes it look like high standards and excellence, but underneath it's usually fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being good enough. We convince ourselves that we're just waiting until it's perfect before we release something into the world. But what we're really doing is protecting ourselves from the vulnerability of being seen. The irony is that nothing great starts perfect. Every book you've ever loved started as a rough draft. Every business you admire began with messy trial and error. Every skill you respect was once performed clumsily, by someone who dared to start before they felt ready. When you focus on impact instead of perfection, you free yourself to take action now. You shift your mindset from, I have to get this flawless, to, I have to get this out there so it can help someone. That's the mindset of a true creator, understanding that the value of your work is in the difference it makes, not in how polished it appears on day one. A video that changes someone's life is more valuable than a masterpiece that never leaves your laptop. A prototype that solves a problem today is worth more than a perfect design that never gets built. Think about Thomas Edison. He tested over 1,000 prototypes for the light bulb before finding one that worked. If he had been obsessed with perfection from the start, he might have given up after the first few failures, thinking he wasn't ready. Instead, he understood that the process of creating is messy, and that each imperfect attempt was a necessary step towards something impactful. Perfectionism kills progress because it stops you from taking those necessary steps. There's a powerful truth here. Someone out there needs what you have right now, not the version you think you'll have 5 years from now. That blog post you're afraid to publish because it's not your best work could be the exact words someone needs to read today. That service you're hesitating to offer because you think it's not refined enough might be the solution someone desperately needs right now. If you wait until it's perfect, you delay the impact you could be making. Perfectionism also creates a dangerous cycle. You spend so much time tweaking, refining, and second, guessing that you eventually burn out before you ever share your work. This leads to frustration and self-doubt, which only makes it harder to start the next time. The cure for this cycle is to embrace the concept of done is better than perfect. This doesn't mean you should produce sloppy work. It means you should set clear deadlines for yourself and commit to shipping your work when it meets a high but reasonable standard, even if it's not flawless. It's important to remember that the market, the audience, and the world will give you feedback once your work is out there. You can't get that feedback if you're hiding behind perfectionism. Many of the best ideas in history only became great because they were improved in response to real-world use. Your first version doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to exist so you can learn from it and make it better. A good way to break free from perfectionism is to focus on the person you're trying to help or the problem you're trying to solve. When you think about your audience, your customer, or your community, the focus shifts away from your own fear of being judged and toward the positive change you can bring. Ask yourself, if I release this today, could it make someone's life even slightly better? If the answer is yes, then it's ready enough. Another strategy is to give yourself quantity goals instead of quality goals at the start. Instead of aiming to write one perfect article, aim to write 10 articles this month. Instead of aiming to create the perfect product, aim to produce 3 functional prototypes. Quantity builds skill, and skill naturally improves quality over time. The more you create, the better you'll get, and the more confident you'll become in sharing your work without overthinking it. Impact comes from movement. Every time you hold back because you're chasing perfection, you stop the ripple effect your work could have had. The truth is, no matter how much you polish something, there will always be someone who finds a flaw. And that's okay. You're not creating to please everyone. You're creating to make a difference. Your work will evolve, and you'll have chances to improve it later. But the first step is to get it out into the world. So the next time you find yourself holding back, remind yourself that perfection is an illusion, and that progress beats perfection every time. Set a deadline, finish the project to the best of your current ability, and release it. Let the world see it, use it, respond to it. And then take that feedback and make the next version even better. Done is better than perfect, and your willingness to act now is what will ultimately create the impact you want to have. When you create something and put it out into the world, you plant a seed. That seed has the potential to grow far beyond what you can see in the moment. It can influence people you'll never meet, spark ideas in minds you'll never know, and create opportunities you could never have planned. But when you consume without creating, everything stops with you. You take in the value someone else produced, and it ends right there. It doesn't multiply, it doesn't spread, and it doesn't evolve into something new. The greatest creators throughout history understood this truth. Creation has a multiplying effect, but consumption without action is a dead end. Think about a teacher who develops her own lesson plans. She could keep them to herself, using them only in her classroom, but instead she shares them online. A teacher in another city finds them, adapts them, and improves them for her own students. Another teacher across the world takes that version and modifies it further, adding new activities and insights. Over time, thousands of students benefit from those original ideas, all because one person chose to share rather than keep their work locked away. That's the power of multiplying instead of hoarding. The same principle applies in business, art, and personal growth. A musician who records a song and uploads it might touch the heart of someone who's inspired to write their own lyrics. An entrepreneur who publishes their process for solving a problem might inspire another business owner to refine and expand on that method. Every act of creation has the potential to trigger more creation, but only if it's released into the world. When you keep your work hidden, you not only limit your own growth, you also rob others of the chance to build on it. One of the reasons people hoard instead of share is fear. Fear that their work isn't good enough. Fear that someone will steal their ideas. Fear that they'll be criticized. But here's the truth. Your ideas will have a far greater chance of survival and growth if they're out in the open, being used, adapted, and expanded. If someone takes your idea and makes it better, that's not a loss, that's a win. It means you are the spark for something greater than you could have created alone. Another reason people avoid multiplying their creations is that they underestimate the value of what they have. They think it's too small, too obvious, or too simple to matter. But what's obvious to you might be groundbreaking to someone else. A small insight you've gained through experience could save someone else months of frustration. A simple tool you've made for yourself could be exactly what someone else needs to solve a problem. You don't have to create something monumental for it to have a multiplying effect. You just have to release it. Multiplication also benefits you in ways you can't predict. When you share your work, you invite feedback, collaboration, and connection. You open the door for others to help you improve your ideas, expand your reach, and introduce you to new opportunities. A single blog post could lead to a speaking engagement. A free resource you share could lead to a partnership. A piece of art you upload could catch the attention of someone who wants to commission your work. The point is, when you put something out, you create possibilities. When you keep it locked away, you create nothing. To embrace multiplication, you have to shift your mindset from ownership to stewardship. Instead of thinking, this is mine and I have to protect it, think, this came through me and I have a responsibility to put it into the world so it can grow. That's how ideas, movements, and innovations spread, through people who are willing to give freely and trust that more will come in return. The challenge is to stop thinking of your creations as a one-time event and start thinking of them as the beginning of a chain reaction. Your job is to start the chain, not to control every link. Trust that once your work is out there, it will find its way to the people who need it, and they will add to it in ways you could never imagine. So this week, take something you've created, no matter how small, and share it with at least one other person. Post it online, give it to a friend, send it to a colleague. Don't wait until it's perfect. Don't wait until you think it's worthy. Release it now and let it begin multiplying. You may never see the full reach of your work, but you can be certain that its impact will be greater than zero, which is all it will ever be if you keep it to yourself. The world grows richer when we share, and so do we. Creating more than you consume is not just a habit, it's an identity. When you begin to see yourself as a creator, it changes how you think, how you act, and how you approach every day. Most people define themselves by their roles: student, employee, parent, friend. But creators define themselves by what they bring into the world. They carry the belief that they are here to produce, to contribute, to leave things better than they found them. When this becomes part of who you are, creation stops being something you have to force and starts being something you naturally do. It becomes as instinctive as breathing. Identity drives behavior. If you tell yourself you're someone who struggles to follow through, you'll keep acting in ways that prove that belief true. But if you start saying to yourself, I am a creator, you begin making choices that align with that identity. A musician who sees themselves as a creator is always listening for melodies in the world around them. A writer who sees themselves as a creator notices stories unfolding in everyday life. A problem solver who sees themselves as a creator looks at challenges and immediately starts thinking of solutions. The label you give yourself shapes your reality. Becoming a creator in identity means you stop waiting for motivation. You don't wait for inspiration to strike, because creating is just what you do. Even on days when you feel tired or uninspired, you still create something, because it's who you are. Professionals don't show up only when they feel like it. They show up because it's their identity to do so. The amateur waits for perfect conditions. The creator acts regardless. This identity also changes how you see your environment. When you're a consumer by default, you passively take in the world as it is. You notice the entertainment, the products, the convenience that others have built for you. But when you're a creator, you walk through life looking for opportunities to improve, to innovate, to contribute. You see an inefficient system and think, how could I make this better? You hear a story and think, how could I share this in a way that inspires others? You experience a challenge and think, what could I build to solve this problem? Your mind becomes a radar for possibilities instead of a sponge for distractions. Creators also think in terms of legacy. Consumers live for the next purchase, the next show, the next distraction. Creators think about what they'll leave behind, what will still exist after they're gone. This doesn't have to mean a global impact. It can mean the lessons you pass down to your children, the tools you leave for your community, the art you give to your friends. The point is that you're aware your time is limited, and you want your life to add up to something that outlives you. One of the most empowering parts of making creation your identity is that it removes the question of whether you're qualified to create. Too many people hold back because they think they need more experience, more talent, more resources. But when being a creator is simply who you are, you start where you are and grow along the way. You don't need to ask for permission. You don't need to compare yourself to others. You create because it's your nature to do so. Shaping this identity takes intention. It starts with language. Stop saying, I want to create, and start saying, I am a creator. Write it down. Say it out loud. Let it become part of your daily affirmations. Surround yourself with people who also see themselves as creators, because identity is reinforced by community. If everyone around you is constantly making, building, and producing, it will feel natural for you to do the same. You can also strengthen this identity by tracking your creative output. Keep a journal of what you produce each day. No matter how small, seeing your progress over time reinforces that you're not just dabbling. You're living as a creator. And when you have a day where you don't feel like producing, remember that your identity doesn't depend on perfection. It depends on consistency. One missed day doesn't erase who you are. It's just a reminder to show up tomorrow. When creation becomes your identity, you begin to live in alignment with your highest potential. You stop drifting and start directing your energy toward building things that matter. You stop defining yourself by what you consume and start defining yourself by what you give. You start leaving a trail of value, ideas, and inspiration wherever you go. That is the power of making creation not just something you do, but something you are. And once you fully embrace it, you'll never go back. Thank you very much.